the Apocrypha and some other books can be used for scriptural reference if they go along with the scriptures. Now, if they go against the scriptures, like I said, that is another story. Hello everybody, this is Paul Neeson with Torah Life Ministries. Thank you for joining us today. And we are in the middle of Hanukkah. Tonight, depending on what calendar you're going to look at, is the fourth night of Hanukkah. And people often wonder, is Hanukkah found in the Bible? Is it a biblical holiday or not? Or is it a biblical holy day? We often hear a story about Hanukkah that has some fiction to it, with the candles and lasting for 8 days and so on. And even me growing up in a Jewish home believed that was what Hanukkah was, and that was it, and that's all it was. And then when I started reading the Bible, I didn't really see much written about the festival of Hanukkah. But then when I started to learn and study more, I realized that in the Bible, they spoke about many books that weren't in the Bible. They say, for example, like in the original covenant, they say, well, this king or this empire read everything they did was recorded in the book of so and so. But where is that book? So we don't know what many of those books are. So a lot of the things we don't know it was recorded, but we do know that it says often this king read from this book, or the life of this king was recorded in this book, and we don't know where those books are. But what we do know is the books that are in our Bible today are books that were chosen to be in what we call the Bible. And this is really a newer thing, because originally there were many more books to the Bible. Now, the problem and the confusion is today a lot of people will claim many books are biblical books, or especially based on biblical principles. And I often ask people, or people often ask me, well, what about the Gospel of Thomas or the Gospel of Mary and all these agnostic gospels and all these things that you find in popular bookstores today? Well, it basically comes down to is whatever book you're reading, if they proclaim Yeshua as Messiah, the way what we have today as the Bible proclaims, as the only way to be saved, that's it, the only way to be saved, Yeshua Messiah, then those books have some biblical context to it. But when these so-called books, the agnostic books that are out there today, will claim, well, the Gospel of Thomas or the Gospel of Mary or the Gospel of this and the Gospel of that say that there's many different ways to be saved, and salvation comes through many different ways. Well, that is not based on a biblical context. That is straight from the adversary, and these things you want to avoid and not fall into that trap. And this has become a big problem today, because many people think they're reading something that was or should be part of the original Bible, but it goes against the message of the scriptures. It's quite interesting. I see a whole bunch of people that read the Bible and or at least the New Covenant, and they think the message of the Apostle Paul is counteracting the original covenant, which it is not, folks. And some of you are going to disagree with me, but when you understand who Paul was and what his message was, you will understand it went right along with the original and the renewed covenant. He was a Messianic Jewish believer who knew the Torah better than anyone else. And he didn't do away with the original covenant and create the renewed covenant and say now there's a new covenant that will change the old covenant. No. He taught people Torah, but he also taught that there's only one way to be saved, through Yeshua Messiah. So his information did not counteract what the original covenant said, or what the scriptures have to say. Now, some people will claim, well, Paul's words actually did counteract, because Paul says to do some things that Yeshua said not to, or Paul says some things are permissible that the original covenant might not say. But again, Paul knew the original covenant perfect, and he didn't change it. You have to look at the time he was there and what he was doing and who he was talking to and how he was presenting the message to them. But if you really look at the deep part of what he was teaching, it went along with the scriptures. Unlike these agnostic scriptures that are out there today that you could find in the popular bookstores that go completely against the scriptures. And when people say it's biblical, I just know they're not reading the scriptures. And then on the other hand, you got a lot of people like that call themselves Christians. that aren't reading their scriptures. How do I know? Well, me being a health teacher, one of the ways I know immediately is when somebody says that Peter ate unclean meat, so it's okay for everyone to eat unclean meat, and we no longer need to eat kosher food anymore or anything like this. And that wasn't the purpose or the whole idea of when our Creator said to Peter on the sheet, here are some animals, you may eat them even though they're unclean. So when somebody thinks Peter actually was given permission for us to now eat unclean animals, or our Creator was giving us permission, I know they haven't studied their scriptures, because that one is quite obvious when you read your scriptures and you know the true meaning about what Peter was doing actually, and about no longer does a Jewish person only have to eat with a Jewish person. Now a Jewish person could eat with these people that Jewish people wouldn't even talk to way back when, let alone sit down at the table and eat with them. But now everyone that accepts Yeshua Messiah is clean, and you can eat with all of them. Getting back to Hanukkah, folks, the Apocrypha, I have a copy of it here, was in the original scriptures, and it's still in, from my understanding, it's still in the Catholic Bible today, or what the Catholic people use as a Bible. But in most common scriptures or Bibles, it's taken out. But between the time of the original covenant and the renewed covenant, they had the Apocrypha. And by the way, there's a bunch of other historical books that are wonderful between those times. It just didn't like nothing happened at those times. There's a lot of information that happened. But these books of the Apocrypha are wonderful, and I highly recommend them because they have information. Like, for example, Jeremiah. It talked a lot about Jeremiah in the books of the Apocrypha. And it talked a lot about a lot of the things that you find in Scripture, and it just expands on them. Well, there's a book or a family called the Maccabees. And it's a really cool family about a whole bunch of brothers that revolt against the people that are trying to oppress Israel, and they're greatly outnumbered, but they persevere and they're victorious. And basically, that's where we get Hanukkah from. Now, that's basically, because it goes into a lot more than that. And it's very interesting because what they were actually trying to overcome, they actually became themselves. And, if you read halfway through, they seem like these heroes. But if you continue reading all the way through, you start to see some issues, like I just said. But regardless, the Apocrypha and some other books can be used for scriptural reference if they go along with the scriptures. Now, if they go against the scriptures, like I said, that is another story, and that's what we need to be aware of, and we need to understand whether it's a person that's a Christian or a person that's not a believer, and they've read or they supposedly read one of these agnostic gospels that they see in a bookstore, and they start claiming that as scriptural, then you know where they're coming from, at least. And if you want to approach somebody with the good news of Yeshua Messiah, it's great to know where they're coming from so you could take them where they need to go. And, each situation, I believe, especially when you're presenting the gospel, needs to be handled in a particular way based on the situation. And Yeshua gave it as an example. He didn't have a set way to minister to people. You had people coming to him with all sorts of different problems, whether they were illnesses or whether they were emotional things or physical things or political things. He had people coming to him all sorts of times, and ultimately he handled them the same way. He healed them and said, "Go and sin no more," and he showed them an amazing type of love. But he spoke to each one of them in a different way, even in a different tone in situations. And we need to take the example of Yeshua Messiah. Go and make disciples doesn't mean tell somebody about the scriptures and never see them again. And that might happen in certain circumstances. Okay, you were one of the things that helped that person realize or open his eyes. But for the most part, if you're around somebody quite often, check in with them every now and then. See how they're doing. Don't leave them out in the cold, or at least send them to somebody. See, me, I travel a lot, so I only see people one time. But I always do my best to make sure, especially when people email me, is they say, well, now that you showed me this, now that my heart wants to receive the true message of the scriptures, the true message of Yeshua Messiah, can you help me, or who can I speak to? And in those cases, I'll say, well, where do you live? And we'll find you somebody locally who can disciple you. Because I would love to, but I'm a little far away here, so I can't always do that. But I'm not going to leave you in the cold. I'm going to do my best to help you find somebody who is teaching a good message that can help you. So I just want to make this message and wish everybody a happy, joyful holiday season or holy day season. We did another message about the holy days versus the holidays, and it's important always to remember the love of Yeshua Messiah, and this time especially. You know, there's a lot of people that, like I said, they've either read miss scriptures or wrong scriptures, or they haven't even read the scriptures, and they're doing things, partaking in pagan festivals at this time of year, like Christmas, like New Year's Eve, and whatever else you want to call it. And there's a way to reach each of them with the true message of Yeshua. And it's a great time, actually, to bring up the things I'm bringing up to them, to say, you know, I know you're celebrating Christmas, and I know the way you're doing it, but do you know that's more of a tradition of modern times? And, you know, originally, actually, people were put, it was against the law to celebrate Christmas in the United States of America. Before there were states, it was like the United States of America. It was like a really long time ago, but it was against the law to celebrate Christmas. And now it's become quite common. So there's many new traditions that are going to come up, and there's many old traditions that might resurface. But we have to have a foundation, folks. And when we get to it, we have the Bible, and we have the Torah, which is the foundation of all of the scriptures. And then we have the scriptures, and then we can go look at other books like the Apocrypha and other things that go along with the scriptures. But to take a book like the Apocrypha and never read the scriptures is not what I'm suggesting either. I'm suggesting read it all. You know, that's how you know. That's where the story is. So when you see Hollywood making movies that are so incorrect, you had Noah and now you have Exodus, they're so incorrect, but people don't know it. And then they start accepting that as the true thing. And it's when you see people listening to pastors on TV that are so incorrect, but they don't know it. You know, often when I'm standing in front of a room of hundreds of people and I'm speaking to them, you know, I ask people right there, you know, how many of you know another language? Let's say Chinese, for example. How many of you speak Chinese? If no one in that room knows Chinese, I could say just rubbish. And they'll be saying, he speaks pretty good Chinese. But if one person in that room understands the Chinese language, they'll say, he has no idea what he's talking about. And that's the case with the scriptures. If nobody understands the scriptures and you hear somebody or see a movie or something about it, you can say, that sounds pretty good. But if you know what the scriptures say, you pretty much know right away that person has no idea what they're talking about. And a lot of people out there don't have an idea what they're talking about. So I hope you would check out the videos on my website. I'll put a link here to Torah Life Ministries. I have a lot of videos on this website that talks about the things, the real things of the scriptures that we need to know. So check them out. And if you have any comments or questions about what I said here in this video, post it below the video. Until then, everybody, have a great day, and shalom, shalom. Hello, everybody. This is Paul Neeson, your Health Watchman. Thank you for checking out my channel. If you'd like more Bible-related videos, you can click right here now to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can get a whole bunch of great videos on these topics. If you want to check out my website, TorahLifeMinistries.org, where I have so many different videos, you can click right here, right now, and it'll take you to that website as well. Until then, everybody, have a great day, and shalom, shalom.